This is by Tim, and I will put your question up there, Tim, as Steve starts to talk. But he says, Samson was given great strength for the purpose of delivering Israel from the Philistines. A Nazarite vow, as we learn from Numbers chapter 6, forbids him from touching anything that is dead. How do you reconcile the two callings from God that seem to be in opposition? And then secondly, is it possible that Samson was only to have a partial Nazarite vow, as only the cutting of hair specifically mentioned by the Lord in Judges 13:5?
Yeah. What's his name again?
Tim York.
Oh, okay. Tim, the story of Samson to a Jew is the story of him breaking his Nazarite vow. And so when you look at the Nazarite vow, there were a number of things that weren't to be done or were to be done. And so, basically what you were supposed to be doing as a Nazarite is you were supposed to be devoting your life to the Lord. And so the whole thing with drinking. So for example, a Nazarite was not allowed to drink wine or eat anything that had to do with grapes. And so when you go through and you look at Samson's history, the first thing that you see is a guy who is willful, and he wants to marry who he wants to marry, and he gets himself in a situation where he's unequally yoked, and he doesn't care about what his parents are saying. And so the first point of a Nazarite vow is that you were supposed to be devoted to the Lord. And so his devotion to the Lord comes in question at that point. The next thing that you see him doing is touching something that's dead as he's going down to one of the celebrations for his wedding. And so he kills a lion, and then later on when he comes back, he eats honey from a honeycomb that came out of the lion, and he gives it to his parents without telling them. And the reason he didn't tell them is because it's unclean. And so, obviously, like you said, he's touched something that's dead. And again, as you go through and you look at each one of the situations that Samson is in, what he's doing is he's breaking one of the commandments that's connected with the Nazarite vow. And the final commandment that he breaks is the cutting of his hair. When a Jew took a Nazarite vow, at the beginning of the vow, they would shave their heads bald, actually shave their whole bodies, but they would shave their heads bald, and then for the period of time that the vow was going on, they would allow their hair to grow, including their beard, and they wouldn't touch it. And at the end of the vow, they would shave their heads again, and they would offer up the hair as an offering. And so the cutting of the hair is the end of the Nazarite vow. And again, what you see Samson doing is messing around with his sanctification. He's messing around with his vow to God. And it was the vow to God, it was the Nazarite vow that gave him the strength. It was his relationship with the Lord. And so obviously the moral of the story is that you don't ever mess with your sanctification. You don't ever, your power comes from being set apart for the Lord. And that's what's happening with Samson. Samson's the last judge that's mentioned in the book of Judges, and Samuel is the next one. And he's a Nazarite also, only he never messes with his vow. And so you see God using him radically. So all of that, a Jew reading that would go, what is he doing? And when finally the razor comes on his head, then at that point the vow's over until his hair grows again. And you see God reinstating him at that point.
So I checked out there in the beginning for the first part there, but when you have not to touch a dead body, and in warfare you're obviously killing people, no problem there.
No problem there. What you're talking about is a corpse. You're not talking about making a corpse. You're talking about touching a corpse.
Right.
Is the deal. Yeah.